So because me and Joe are working Tramlines Festival this week, we wanted to keep today's video a little bit shorter than what our normal videos are, so I wanted to do something a little bit different. I want to give a bit of a list of artists that I think are going to do well in the years to come. These are artists that are entirely classed as being like your local artists, entry-level artists, verging on emerging. Some of them have had a few bits of radio play here and there, but they aren't at like the world stage yet, and I think that is kind of the prediction. These are the bands that might do really, really well, and then in like 3-4 years time, maybe we'll make another video coming back to this video and seeing how correct I was. It's probably worth noting that these artists that I'm saying aren't necessarily my favourite smaller artists. In fact, they definitely aren't my favourite smaller artists. These are just the artists that I think have the most potential to grow, and therefore it could be argued that these are the artists that I see as most commercial, which some people see as being a bad thing. So by all means, check out these artists. If you don't like them, fair enough. If you do, cool. This was somewhat unintentional, but the 3 artists that I'm actually going to mention are from the same place. They're all from South Yorkshire, which is actually where we're based, so I suppose that makes sense because I'm going to be aware of the artists that are in my area. But we'll start with an artist that I really do like called The Blinders. There's a chance that this is the artist out of any of them that you might have heard of if you follow this channel. They get semi-regular plays recently on Radio 6, which is kind of cool. They're an artist that we put a gig on with them, didn't we?
Yep.
A long time ago, about 2 years ago or so.
Yep.
We put them on, they played to like 40 people, and then over the past few years they've gradually built an audience so they're playing to like decent crowds every single time they play gigs. You saw them recently at a festival, didn't you? Were they good?
They were sick.
Yes, they're very good. I think out of the list of the artists that I'm mentioning here, this is the artist that I really want to get big because I think they deserve it, and yeah, they make good music, so by all means go and check them out. If I had to describe the music, I'd say the grungy era of Arctic Monkeys. If you took that and made it a little bit punky and a little bit psychedelic, that's it. Yeah, they've got a little bit of politics in there. More so, I think,
a little bit.
The second artist, which we've mentioned before, and I can say that I don't particularly like as an artist, but I do think they might do well, is the Sherlocks. They're one of the artists that kind of is still on the back of the Arctic Monkeys coming out of Sheffield and being the big indie breakthrough that they were. There was a load of artists that kind of followed that doing indie, and they're one of the artists that's kind of kept going, and they've started doing pretty well for themselves since releasing their debut album. I think they might do pretty well. Don't know, there's not much else to say about that. They're indie, they're a bit kind of commercial indie, and the next artist and the final artist that I'm going to say is one that maybe I wouldn't have said a month ago. It's an artist called Bang Bang Romeo. We've been aware of them for a very long time, and they've been kind of just sat as local artists that's doing a little bit better than most local artists, but not really going anywhere kind of thing. They've kind of sat as that kind of artist for quite a while. However, recently they've signed to a pretty decent record label, and they've had a bit of shift in their music. It's gone from, I mean, they've kind of just been a pop band with mild rock elements, and like it's just been a bit, it's kind of pop, but a band making pop. But recently, and for their new single, they've been making music that's a little bit more commercial in that same kind of style, and for me, as much as I might not like it, I think that it might do really well, especially if they end up building towards EPs, albums, that kind of stuff, and keeping this push going that they've currently got. I think they have potential to do pretty well. Although this entire opinion is based on one song, because everything else that they've done, not a massive fan of. I don't think it has massive potential. This new track, I think, does. So I think if they follow that style and really kind of nail it, then maybe they could actually do pretty well. So they're my 3. Blinders, Sherlocks, Bang Bang Romeo. I think they're going to do pretty well. Yeah, maybe we'll check in 2 years time, 3 years time, whatever, and actually see how correct I was. If you want to do the same, by all means post an artist's name in the description, and maybe like just also put how many monthly listeners they have on Spotify or something like that, just to show these are a small artist. And then when we come to make that video in a few years time, we can check the artist that you said and actually see how many more like monthly listeners or whatever it is that they have has gone up or gone down, or whether they broke up, or all that kind of stuff. It might be kind of interesting. We won't know until in a few years time, but it's worth a shot. Cool, thank you very much for watching this video. The one thing that I do want to say, instead of making you go to our other playlist, is we just hit 1 million views total across the entire channel, which is really cool. That's a load of people that have clicked on either mine or Joe's face. So thanks. Right, cool. We will see you next week with some actual content.